So let's talk a little bit about the product itself, engineered. What is engineered art? What goes into it? Because I think a lot of people would look at the product and they would instantly assume that, oh, this is just, the manufacturer's drawings are taken off their website, stick them on a plate, put a bit of detail on it, and then engrave them on a piece of aluminium that you can buy off the shelf for a couple of pounds. It's very much not the case. Now, when I first started this out as a business, my kind of 5-year ambition was always to get this to the point where either it would, I could get up to the stage of making it like Formula One merchandise, or getting it into the manufacturers and them buying it as a gift for customers who buy, say, a new McLaren or a new Ferrari. You would get one of these plates with your personalised details on. So that's where I wanted to aim at, 5-year plan, and I wanted to make sure that the product was developed to a good enough standard that it would be worthy of that kind of level. Just ripping drawings off of somebody else, abusing the copyrights and just engraving them on readily available materials wasn't really going to cut it if that was the end goal. So in terms of the artwork, all of the drawings that we have on file are 100% original artwork. They've been drawn in-house here, and every single one of those drawings is developed from a set of reference photos, which I take myself. This is a process called photogrammetry, which is the process of taking lots and lots of photos of an object and compiling them all together to create an accurate technical representation of it. So there's a set of photos that are taken at a very specific height, distance, angle, focal length to get a very accurate and highly detailed drawing from a set of photographs. So there's a proprietary technique which I have put together, which I know I can do on any car, be it a Model T Ford or the latest Bugatti, and I will get exactly the same level of detail and proportional accuracy from it. Now, each one of these drawings starts with a photo shoot. I need to go spend maybe half an hour to an hour. It's not a long process because I know what I'm doing, what I'm aiming for, and I've got some specialist equipment. I can get all of the reference photos I need done in as little as half an hour, and it's just simply a process of actually having physical access to a car in an open area where I can take photos from the necessary distance away. You can't work with close-up photos. They need to be taken from a long distance and zoomed in. So I've got a big old zoom lens for my camera, which is suitable for this kind of stuff. And I need to be able to take photos from above. So a lot of people would say, oh, you could use a drone for that, but drones are not the best equipment for it. What I've actually got is a carbon fiber mast, telescopic one that goes up 10 meters. I put my DSLR camera on the top of it and then take photos from directly above. And each one of the views is made up out of lots of different photos. So I take a photo, for example, on the side view. I take a photo going square across the nose, couple down the middle of the car, one looking square across the tail. I stitch those all together into a composite image, which gives me what's known as an orthographic representation. That is to say that there is no vanishing point on it. And that is how all technical drawings need to be presented. You can't call something a blueprint and it not be an orthographic projection. I mean, you can try, but anyone who works in engineering is going to point at it and go, that's a poor effort, and that's not what I wanted. But having a background in engineering, I knew that these things, if they were going to be blueprints, they'd better like blueprints. So a lot of attention has been paid to the photo referencing standards. It is very rare that I will accept reference images from a third party, because even professional photographers don't always grasp what it is that I need. In fact, they can actually be more difficult to work with because they always want to chuck their own artistic flair, and I have to be very strict with it and go, no artistic flair. I do not want your artistic interpretation of what this image is supposed to look like. These are the settings to use. This is where to put the camera for each shot. Do it like that, and even then, it's just getting the camera off position by a couple of inches can throw things off and make it very difficult to get the drawing looking the way that I want it. But so for the most part, yeah, I do all of the reference photography. That has involved me traveling around the world. You know, I've traveled to Geneva, I've travelled to Italy, I've even gone as far as California, taking photos of cars and generating the artwork from them. So that's a massive part of the business. A really, really important part of the business is the photo referencing. Then we get onto the actual line artwork illustration. Once we've got the reference images into the graphics program, we work in Adobe Illustrator, and it can take, once the images are done and edited, and you've got 4 projection views ready to go, you're then sitting down to do maybe 20 to 25 hours of straight illustration to convert that all into the really highly detailed artwork. And also not just creating line artwork, because what I realized was when I farmed some of this work out to some subcontractors, I realized that there are many different standards for graphic illustration, and some of the ones that we got back, some of the techniques that we used were unusable for the laser. So I had to make sure that all of the work that we did is produced in such a way that the end result is going to look good on the metal, which is what's important. It's not so much about what it looks like on the screen, it has to look good on the metal. Once all the drawing is done, then you have to sit down and you have to research the technical specifications. So as you probably have seen on these drawings, we have quite a detailed technical specification which goes around the car. It fills up all the white space around the projection views. And that in itself can take another few hours depending on how readily available information is. Sometimes on the more modern cars, more modern performance cars, there is quite often a very detailed technical specification like PDF from the manufacturer, which is great because you know that there's not going to be too much argument about whether the 0 to 60 was 4.1 seconds or 4.2. Which happens a lot with some of the older cars. We do our best to make sure that the technical specifications are accurate, but ultimately it depends on the reference source that you look at. And if we look at a different reference source to you, then you can often find different figures depending on where you look. And I've even had it in some manufacturers' own workshop manuals where they listed 2 different figures within the same document for the same specification. I think it was like steering ratio or something. Somewhere in the document it said 13.8, another page it said 13.5. So honestly, it can be a bit of a nightmare trying to get all of the details nailed down, and that's before you even start factoring in all the different variants of whether the facelift had 385 horsepower or 387 PS. There's a lot of time that goes into that, and when we get around to actually doing individually customized orders, we send out proof copies, and part of the proofing process is so that you as the customer can have a look through the technical specification. You can go, yeah, I'm looking here, I'm happy with that. Actually, I think the final drive ratio was slightly different on the facelift model, and then you come back and tell us, and we go, okay, yep, fine. Whatever you say, whatever you want on there. If you think your 1 litre Fiesta does 0 to 60 in 3 seconds, fine. Whatever, as long as you're happy with it saying that, then once you've signed it off for manufacture, then that's cool with us. So that's just a little bit of background on the actual artwork to give you a bit of an overview of what actually goes into producing one of these drawings. It's very much not a case of just pulling something off of the internet, sticking it on a template, putting a bit of text around it. The photography is specialist. The artwork illustration is something that not just anyone can do, or at least not anyone can do in a reasonable amount of time. And yeah, there's a fair amount of digging up the technical specifications and everything there as well. So it's quite a lot. We're looking at the best part of a solid week to put one of these in a new template drawing in the library. And then of course, when someone comes through to order one, we pull it out of the library, put the details on there and send a proof copy out. And once we send the proof copy out, then we're opening ourselves up to, it could be several more hours of dialogue with that particular customer who knows infinitely more about that car than we did, and we were just going on what was readily available, and they come through and go, well, actually no, well, it's known that the 0 to 60 on this was done under these conditions, and actually it's this. And this model had slightly different specifications, but so yeah, you can easily add on another couple of hours just in backwards and forwards and changing up the technical specifications even more. So there's quite a bit that goes into just the artwork. Next, I want to talk about the actual material that we engrave these on. So it's not off-the-shelf aluminium. We have the plates that we use are made bespoke for us by local companies. When we're having these plates made, we actually need to have 2 companies process them, because there's not one company that can make the whole product in one sitting. The first stage of it is we need the sheet metal cut down. Now, although we have a laser, it's a CO2 laser, it can only cut woods and plastics. It can engrave, it can etch into the metal surface. I'll go into a bit more detail about that in a minute, but it can't cut metal. So we need to outsource the manufacture of the plates to someone else. So we have the first company, it's a local company on the island called Island Sheet Metal, and they produce the raw aluminium blanks. So they cut these out of an 8x4 sheet of 3mm thick 5251 aluminium. Laser cut them, they've got nice rounded corners, it's a nice finish on the edge. They deburr them and they put a brushed finish on. Now that brushed finish is there to really remove imperfections from the surface, because the first batch of these I ever had made when I ran the Kickstarter campaign, I needed to order 100 of these. I didn't order any brush finish on them, and they turned up, and although they had a protective film on the front face, when I peeled it off, I realised that they had lots of tiny little micro scratches, little imperfections. And it wasn't until I had them anodised that I realised that anodising doesn't hide these things, it actually accentuates them, which was a bit of a shock. So the next batch that I ordered, I made sure to speak to the suppliers and I said, look, what can you do about surface imperfections? They said, well, we can run them through our grind master, so we can put a brush finish on them. Now, initially, I wasn't too keen on the sound of this. I thought I wasn't really sure how it was going to look. But when the first one turned up and we got it back from the anodizers, I thought, wow, I mean, that's a significant step up in quality. It looks like a much more premium finish. And we've never looked back on that one. They've always been brushed ever since. So we have these brushed to 180 grit, which we found was the right balance between the smallest A4 plaques we make and the biggest A1s. You can't go with such a heavy grain on the small ones because it starts to affect the legibility of the really tiny text. So yeah, that's the first stage. They laser cut them, rounded edges, deburred, brush finish. Those then get sent to our anodizer, who dips them in the anodizing tank, and then they end up coming out like this. Now, by virtue of the fact that we have these plates anodized after they've been cut, it means that unlike the pre-anodized sheet, that's just you can see on the edges there, they're all nicely anodized as well. The back has complete coverage as well, which enables us to laser engrave the markings on the back of the plate to show where the fitting kit attaches directly to the back of it. And yeah, it's a really nice, it's double finished and it's unique to us, so nobody else really kind of, although other people try to imitate the products and they produce cheap versions using, you know, the downloaded drawings off the internet and cheap off-the-shelf aluminium, nobody's doing it on this kind of quality, and by virtue of, you know, it's a thick piece of plate. The edges are smooth, you've got rounded corners, so it doesn't need to go in a frame. You can happily hang this up on the wall and it's not going to be a hazard. When you've got it hung on the wall and the fitting kit's attached directly to the back of the plate, it means it stands off the wall by about 10 millimeters. It casts a nice shadow behind the plate and really accentuates the fact that this is a solid piece of metal, not just your standard canvas or framed print. In terms of the engraving, I'll show you a little clip of one of these things in manufacture because it's fascinating to watch the machine in action producing one of these. It actually goes around and draws out each line in the order that we draw it on the graphics program. And we have very finely tuned our machine to get the best engraving on this, and we didn't think too much of this until our machine broke down one Christmas, and we went back to another company to get them to the stuff that we weren't able to do. And it turned out that they had some difficulty in matching the level of quality that we were achieving. They didn't really understand how we were getting such fine results, getting the difference in contrast. You know, there's very fine adjustments between what we've got as like a solid white line on the drawing. I'm trying to get that in the image there. And sort of where we do the interiors, where you're looking through glass, we want those a more subtle line. So it's a slight defocus on the laser, a slight tweak in the power settings, just to give that a lighter engraving. It gives more of a grey finish than the bright white. And all of these sort of settings, which, you know, because this is all we make, we've spent an inordinate amount of time tuning the machine to produce this product and this product alone. And yeah, it turns out getting other people to try and get something of the same standard, it can be a little bit tricky. So we got there in the end with them because we actually had a decent amount of work to put through them. But it did take some, I had to go down there and you know, tune the thing in myself and then go, right, that's it, those are the settings, don't touch them. So all in, if you order one of these from the library, and I've got this vehicle on file, it takes me around about 3 to 4 hours to produce. On average. Sometimes they're a little bit quicker, but in terms of the manufacturing on the A3 size, this one takes about 40 minutes to produce each one on the laser. Plus there's some time that goes into making packaging. We manufacture our own hangers that go on the back of the plates. Little bits like that. Plus actually, you know, fabricating the box, gluing it all together, putting the fitting kits and everything in there, and the amount of time spent putting vehicle details on the plates, sending out the proof copies, dealing with any amendments that come back. All in, we're looking an average of 3 to 4 hours. Sometimes they can be a lot more than that, sometimes they can be a lot quicker. But hopefully that gives you some kind of insight as to why they are priced at what they are, because there is a lot of work that goes into them. As the business grows, you know, I'm pitching this product at the manufacturers now. You know, the end goal for this was always to get this product into the manufacturers and have it offered by the dealers as a handover gift when you buy a new Lotus, a new Porsche, a new McLaren. And we are, you know, we're in those discussions now where we're getting those meetings, the companies are interested, but what we're finding is that actually getting the ball rolling, getting set up as a supplier, getting all of the stuff approved and onto their e-commerce websites, it's such a long process that, you know, some of these things we've been working on for 4 or 5 years now, and we're still not quite at the stage of having it officially launched. So fingers crossed we are going to get there soon, and then once we are, then that's the stage that we can really push forward in anger, scale the business, start hiring more people, buying more machines, investing in this. Once we can start getting the quantity up, once we've got dedicated salespeople on, dedicated people for producing the orders and everything, that means that we can produce more at a lower cost, and then hopefully all of the prices come down. Certainly for the time being, especially at the moment where I'm operating as a one-man band, there's only so many of these that I can produce each week, and the price is reflective of, you know, how much work goes into them. It costs what it does because it takes me bloody ages. I hope that gives you a bit more insight as to what goes into these products and a bit of an introduction to myself. If you've got any questions, I'm always happy to chat to people. You can always give me a call at the office. I'm happy to have a chat on the phone. Send me an email with any questions you've got, whether it's related to the artwork, whether we can do a particular car, or whether, you know, certain modifications or other customizations can be taken into account. Always happy to answer those questions. I'm always happy to negotiate a good deal for people. If you are a member of an owners club and you think that there are other owners of your car that might be interested in this product, give me a shout and let's have a chat about group buy discount, you know, promotional rates. You know, if you've got a big following on Instagram or other social media platforms and you fancy giving us a shout out, again, I'd love to talk to you. So that about sums up my not so short introduction to myself and to the engineered art products. I hope I haven't bored you to death if you're still sat here watching that. After this long, I'm going to take that as a good thing, because hopefully you're, you know, keen interest in what we do. And I've actually quite enjoyed doing this. I've only just got a setup where I've got a background and I've got lighting and I've got a decent camera to put something together that actually looks semi-professional in terms of video content. So I'm going to do this a little bit more often now, because I've got some other stuff that I'd like to share about what goes on behind the scenes here. There's a lot of development work that's gone into like the user interface. When you place an order, there's a process that you go through where, you know, you get an email, it requests the vehicle details that you'd like on the plaque, and then that gets uploaded to our order management system, and then we issue the proof copies, and you can download the proof copies and view them and send amendments. And this is all a custom built piece of software that I've made myself. I've had to learn sort of PHP scripts and APIs and things like that, as well as all the website development. The website's 100% custom that I all built from scratch as well. It's built on Shopify, but the layout, the template that you see is all custom. So hopefully that sums up my not so brief introduction to myself, to the business, to the engineered art product. I hope you found it interesting. If you're still watching after this long, I'm going to take that as a positive, because it must be that you're very keenly interested in what we're doing here. So thank you for that. If you've ever got any questions, you'd like to discuss a custom project, always pick up the phone. I'm always happy to speak to people on the phone. Drop me an email. Just because picking up the phone is definitely the best. I can't get back to emails as quickly as I want, but if the phone rings, I'm going to pick it up. So if you want a quick answer, best thing to do is definitely to give me a call. I'll put the phone number in the comments below this, or in the email that I sent you, the link to this video. So yeah, that's always the best way to get in touch, is to pick up the phone. That's it. If you go ahead and purchase one of these, there'll be another video like this, which will talk you through the process of how this works. But I'm not going to get into that now. I'll bore people to death before they've bought anything. But there's a bit of a process we have to go through to get the artwork approved over the line and into manufacture. So if you go ahead and purchase one, fantastic. Thank you very much for supporting the business, and I'll be speaking to you again soon. So thanks for watching this not so brief introduction video. I hope you found it interesting, and hopefully I can look forward to hearing from you soon and putting together one of these products for your pride and joy. I'll speak to you soon. Thanks.